Top 20 math skills, number 13, percentages. The word percentage has cent in it, which is Latin for 100, and it means out of 100. The sign is written like that. And if we have 100 squares, and we shade in 4 of them, that would be written as 4%. If we shade in 22 of them, that would be written as 22%. Now, if we shade in 50 of the 100 squares, that looks like a fraction which I'd hope you would recognise. It looks like a half, and a half is the same as 50%. So lock that into your brains, 50% equals 1/2. If we shade in 10 squares, it will be 10%, and 10% looks like a fraction. When the whole area is divided into 10 parts, it's a tenth. And again, lock that into your brains, 10% equals 1/10. Now actually, one of the most handy things for Year 5 and 6 children to remember is that 10% and 1/10, and written as a decimal 0.1, they are all the same thing. And they can all be found by dividing the original number by 10. Now, dividing a number by 10, such as 72, just means that because you're dividing, you are moving the number in this direction, and because it's got 1 0 on it, you're moving it 1 column to the right. So 72 divided by 10 would be 7.2. 40 divided by 10 would be 4.0. Now, if dividing by 10 is the same as finding 10%, we can easily find 10% of any number. So 150, if we want 10% of that, move it 1 column to the right, 15.0 or just 15. If we want to find 10% of 90, just move it 1 place to the right, 9.0 or 9. Now, if you can calculate 10% of a number, there's a lot more you can do. So for example, 10% of 60 is 6. Well, if we know that every 10% is 6, another 10% to make 20% will be 6 and 6, 12. Another 10%, another 6 will make it up to 18. 40% will be 24. And finally, 50% will be another 6, 30. And 50% is the same as a half, and half of 60 is 30. I just do that again because I think this is quite important. 10% of 80 is 8. Now, if we know what 10% of something is, we can double it to find 20%. So double 8 will be 16. Add another 10%, another 8, 24. Add another 10% to make 40%, another 8 will be 32. And another 10% takes us up to 40. And of course, 50% is the same as a half. Half of 80 is 40. If you can find 10% of something, you can very quickly find 20% by doubling it. So for example, if you start with the number 90, 10% is 9, another 10% is 9, so to find 20% of them, just add the two 10%, 18. If we start with 120, 10% is 12, 10% is 12, so add them together, 24. The next thing you can do is halve the 10% to find 5%. So once again, starting with 60, 10% of that will be 6, halve the 10% to 5%, halve the 6 to 3. If we start with 70, 10% of that will be 7, halve 10% to find 5%, halve 7, 3.5. The final thing I'm going to show you today is how to find 15%, and again, if we start with 60, 10% will be 6, halve that to find 5%, so half of 6 is 3, and add 10 and 5% together to make 15%, add 6 and 3 together to make 9. Once more with 70, 10% will be 7, 5% will be 3.5, add them together to make 15%, 10.5. Thank you.